So are you ready? Are you good? Are you set?
Let's do it.
Hi everyone, my name is Fernandez. I'm so excited to be doing a designer tag today with a special guest, Alexa. Woo, 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 woo. I am so excited. This has been a video that we have been talking about for a few months now, I think.
So long, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just so excited to finally get together with Alexa, and I want her to be able to introduce herself. So Alexa, go ahead.
Thank you so much for that intro. Yes, we've been talking about this for a while. I was in the middle of moving. I'm in my new room, so here we are filming this video. I'm Alexa. I'm a designer, a YouTuber. My background is in product design. I've recently switched into design operations. I'm a design program manager now, so that's a little bit about me, but I'm sure we'll talk much more throughout this video about my background. Yes.
Just a little bit of background with this video. Alexa and I were thinking about like what possible collaboration we could do, and I was having like flashbacks like when I was like first getting into YouTube, not even like as a YouTuber but as a viewer, and I would always see people doing like the best friend tag or like the boyfriend tag and like all of these other tags where I felt like, one, I wasn't like a YouTuber then, so I was like, oh, maybe I don't, you know, participate in that. But now I was just like, hey, I feel like there's a slowly but surely growing community of designers on YouTube, and I thought, you know, why not make a designer tag for ourselves and tag fellow content creators and designers here on YouTube as well. So that's a little bit of background here. We're going to be asking each other some questions, so this is actually part 1 of this designer tag video, and Alexa will have part 2 on her channel, so make sure to check the link in the description box because I'm going to have that up, and we're going to be tagging our fellow designers and content creators there as well. But enough of that, enough of me talking. We're going to get into the questions now. So some of these are design related, some of these are just related to, you know, getting to know another human. So first question is, what is your favorite morning beverage?
Well, yeah, I love that this is the first question because this is such an easy one for me. If anyone knows me, you'll know that this is very obvious. My favorite morning beverage is an iced matcha latte. It's an iced matcha latte with almond milk, and then I like 0 sweetness. So no sugar, no honey, none of that. And I buy my matcha from a couple of my favorite local cafes in San Francisco where I just moved from. So I get ceremonial grade matcha from one of those places, and it's actually it was like something I learned over the pandemic, was actually like how to make my own. So I like still buy matcha from my favorite cafes where I used to buy it, but now I just make it at home, and it's one of my favorite morning rituals. It's so fun. It makes me so happy.
I do love an occasional matcha, don't get me wrong, but I think I have just had coffee in my routine for so long, and so I actually have some coffee right now.
Oh my God.
And it's one of those things where like, I don't know, I'm spoiled because my mom has a Nespresso machine. So like when I am at home with my parents, I feel like I'm just like in a luxurious like in a luxurious like hotel or something where I can get my own lattes in the morning. Okay. Now let's get into the second question. And the second question is, how did you get into product design?
Yeah, so I got into product design back in 2013. I had just moved to San Francisco. Yeah, okay, I was doing the math. I was like, in 2 years, I will have been in product design for 10 years. Like 10 years. Like, what is that? So that is wild to think about. But yeah, back in 2012, I had just moved from from Wisconsin, where I grew up, to San Francisco to attend art design school. I was a transfer student at the time, so I was sort of like a sophomore or junior level person, and was starting to take studio classes for my major. My major was graphic design, and for the graphic design program, we also had to take what was called Interactive 1 and Interactive 2, which were essentially like intro level courses into UX design. And it was in my second semester that I took this Interaction 1 course. And I remember it was the day that I had this class was a day that I had like a full schedule of classes. So in art school, your classes are 3 hours long because they're like more like studio classes. Yeah. So I had 4 that day. So that was literally like 7 a.m. to like 10 or 11 or something, with like 1 hour breaks between the classes. So I had this class like as a night class, like 7 to 10 after I had like done all of this other school. And I just remember feeling so energized at the end of the class that I'd go home and I'd keep working on that work because I just loved it so much. That's where I discovered it. And that's also, I think, really where I discovered like, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm energized by.
Right.
And yeah, it was freaking 2013.
Whoa.
So, yeah. How about you though? What's your story?
That is wild. So my story is actually somewhat similar to yours. Like I am currently in school, in college. I am also a graphic design major, or I was. Well, you were, and then now I am. You understand what I'm saying. I also had a class called interaction design class, and we only had one class. It was one of those where it's like you had to ask your advisor specifically for that class, and I was like, oh, this looks fun. Like, I guess we could do it. And I also had that similar feeling. Like, I always packed my days with a bunch of classes. I wanted to get all of them done. Similar to your situation, I also had, like, the classes were always at least like 3 hours long. I remember going to that class similar to yours. It was just fundamentals of UX design, and we had to make our, at the end of the 15 weeks of that class, we just had to make our first case study. And I remember like going to that class, like doing way more than I had to for homework, just because it was like, I found it really fun and really fulfilling. So after that class, I started to kind of self-teach and go onto YouTube. I found your channel, I found other people's channels, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is an entire industry that I could definitely like take a stab at it. And now I'm here, and it's just been wild, because so interesting how quickly you're able to like jump into the industry because of all of the different resources that are here and are available to us. So super grateful for that.
I don't know about you, or it sounds like I moved out to San Francisco and I didn't know anything about the design community or tech. I was just like, I actually moved out because my dad and my stepmom were in the area. So I was like, I have family, like, you know, an hour south. And then it was just like, it hit me. It's like, this is where I'm meant to be.
All right. Well, somewhat related, specifically for designers, I'm sure. What is your organizational tool of choice?
Yes. Okay. My go-to is actually always Post-it notes, which is not like a software tool, but I feel like it's a tool in itself. I love Post-it notes. Mm-hmm. I like them because like you can easily just write down like one idea, mm-hmm. and then I use it kind of to like think about my day or my week, remind me of important things. And then when it's done, I just crumple it up and throw it away, and it's gone. Just like, it's out of mind, out of sight, out of mind. That's actually how it goes. So anyway, that is one of my favorite. With software, it's whatever one is doing the job that needs to do at the time I needed to do it, right? Like I've recently been using Notion, and I think that's a really interesting sort of like planning and like task management sort of tool, documentation. For like software, I'm still using Sketch, which I know a lot of people have switched to Figma, and I'm planning to learn it soon, but it's like, I love Sketch too. It's like, helps me get the job done. Mm-hmm. And then I love Google Calendars as far as like scheduling goes, mm-hmm. because I think a part of, I don't know, maybe this is not unique to design, but I think especially everything to me is now about design and designing my life intentionally. And so I think the Google Calendars has been such a game changer for just being able to be really organized with my time and being able to schedule calls like this. And also often with my calendar, you know, I'll think of something that I need to do, and then it becomes like, it overtakes my mind. And if I can just put it into the calendar and say like, hey, in a month, I'm going to think about this thing again, or I'm going to actually do this thing, and that like during this time block a month from now, then it just like, it can go away, and I'll remember it then. So anyway, there's lots of great tools out there. I think they're constantly changing, and there's a lot of similarities, but yeah, those are some, I guess, that stand out to me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would probably say the same thing, like definitely Google Calendar. I always make a joke that Google Calendar is kind of my best friend, because it is always keeping me on check. Like you said, like I always have my morning routine scheduled. I have like not only time with other people, but, you know, tasks for myself. And I feel like it's just my best, maybe my best accountability partner, giving me reminders, like being able to, like you said, plan everything like way in advance, like even add birthdays and all of that. And I think that's something that I only very recently did that's wild, is that I used to time block all of my days, and I would like go back to like a few months ago, and then I would like look back at like all the schedules that I had with school, and I would just like reminisce and like think about like, that's wild how much time I was spending on this and X, Y, and Z. So if you haven't done that, I would highly recommend it. It's just like a really interesting, like traveling back in time and like having flashbacks of all of those memories. Also, another thing that I have always done, it's hard for me to stop doing it. You know, I've tried like, you know, all these other different like apps, but when it comes to to-do lists, I feel like the best way for me to get things done is really just have a handwritten pen and paper. I don't know what it is about that, but it's just like the fulfillment that you get after like checking it, or like you said, like crumpling that piece of paper. It's just different. And I absolutely love it. I feel like pen and paper is something I'm always going to go back to. The next question, oh, this one's kind of like a hard hitter. After that one is, what was one of the biggest career challenges you have faced?
Biggest career challenges. Wow. I kind of want to say I'm potentially in the midst of one. I just moved to San Diego after living in San Francisco for almost 9 years, and I'm now going to be a remote employee for my company. And we've all been remote for the last, over a year with the pandemic, but soon everyone is going to be in the office again, or like people are going to start going back, and I won't. I'll be remote. And I think that's going to be a big challenge. And I'm kind of really going with the flow and sitting with it. Everything still feels the same, but I know I really love people and I love being around people. And so I'm totally going to miss that. So that's definitely something that comes to mind. I know that's a little bit more in the future, but I'm kind of living it through it right now.
Yeah.
One of the biggest challenges 4 to 5 years ago was when I was actually searching for my second product design job, which I was faced with so much rejection during that time in my life. And I had already worked professionally for I think like 2 or 2.5 years. I was working at a big tech company with a big name. Like, you'd think I would have had it easier. I don't know, like going through interviews, and I freaking struggled. Ultimately, I wanted to leave because I wasn't happy. I wasn't proud of my work, and I didn't feel like I was growing or learning, and I felt like kind of stuck. And I think that really shined through with my interviews. And I was receiving conversations and calls. Like I would get to that first step, or like even all the way to the final interview, but I just faced a lot of rejection. I wasn't getting offers, and that was really, really tough and really challenging. I remember I've never felt so kind of like defeated, like not confident in myself. Even back then, I was meeting up with a lot of people. Like I loved meeting up with designers, like going for tea or going to events. I remember in that moment in my life, I was like, do I even have anything meaningful to say? Like I can't even land a job. like, and now I feel stuck and I'm not proud of my work. And it was a very challenging time. So anyway, I did persevere and get through that. And I think ultimately it's about like keep pushing through it. And I was meeting with a lot of people. Like for me, it was clearly not my external portfolio site that was the challenge. It was actually that presentation version I was getting stuck on, because I was getting the calls. Like I was getting through that first step, but I wasn't closing out. So I would meet up with people, and I would go to them and show them my like presentation version, say like, hey, can I have feedback? This is where I'm at. So anyway, that was super tough. Those are a couple things that stand out to me, but they're definitely like moments and pockets of time that stand out as well. Love to hear like, where are you at with that?
That is a good question. I think that can definitely recall like different moments within this, I want to say 2 years that I've been in this industry, where I feel like in the same way that you have felt defeated, it was during like my first recruitment season ever. So this was like right after I got out of that first interaction design class, and I was like, I got this, I can do this. I'm just going to do a bunch of research, do my due diligence, and like search for portfolios that, like stand out to me, and just like get everything that I could done. And this was in the fall of 2019. And so I was like gearing myself up. I was doing like what you were saying, like doing these coffee chats, like these one-on-one things. And I was starting to attend events like locally in San Francisco. And then I was like, okay, I'm so ready. I started applying. And then there was like, there's this like momentum and this adrenaline that you have when you're applying for a bunch of, at that time, different internships for the summer. And then I was getting a few emails back, but it would just never really, like, I'd never reached a phone screen. Like, that's how far it, like, I would get like, oh, like, we'll take a look at your stuff, whatever. And I thought I was just doing every single thing I could possibly do right. And then COVID hit. And then I was just like, I'm just being ghosted one time after the other. And now this is happening. And it was just a moment where I was just like, I gave my 150,000% and I got nothing out of it. So how do I expect to even get better if I keep pushing through? But I think something that you're talking about where just keep just always showing up despite all of the failure, all of the rejection, like always seeking the helpers that are out there that are willing to like look at your presentation, look at your portfolio. I feel like that's what got me through. I have this written down on my notebook all the time, but just like trusting the process and like trusting that the time or your time will come if you constantly give that all. I know a lot of people also in the same boat as I was in, just like was experiencing all of this rejection here and there. So yeah, that was probably one thing or one pocket of time, like you said, that I could look to.
Lots of learning and growth in that time as well. And I think, I was seeing it a bit more on the employer side. Like, we had back last year, we had set to hire, we're going to start our intern program, and we had to stop it because at the very top, the company said like, hey, like we're in a hiring freeze, like we can't hire anymore. And it's just, so like, it sucks. And that's just sometimes like how life happens. But got to bring good people around and keep persevering through. I strongly believe that.
I think that that's so interesting too, to see it from the flip side. Like, I never thought about it that way as well. So thanks for like giving that perspective. Something that is a little bit more like forward facing, I guess, is what is your dream company or dream role or dream job?
Well, that's so funny. I feel like in a sense, I feel like I've had dream jobs before. Like even just being a product designer to me felt like a dream job. Wherever I was, like I was just like, I love this work. And then I've switched recently into design operations, and I was saying I'm a design program manager, and my specific area of focus is in community engagement. So it's a more external facing role, and I get to like host events and experiences, work with sponsorships, content, social media, like our blog. So I just am so energized by all of this. Like I have a YouTube channel, like I'm creating content. Like I love telling stories. I love helping other people, follow their hopes and dreams and maximize their potential. So it's like, I get to do that for my job and get paid. Like that feels like a dream job. That all said, I can also reflect back on like when I was in school, I loved like food and health tech. I think I could aspire to, and I can imagine like I'd love to work within that space at some point. And then another answer that comes to mind for me is just like, I love Instagram and I love YouTube. And so it's like, maybe I'd love to work for one of those companies.
Right. I mean, like, yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
There's the one aspect where it's just like the role itself, like dream job in that sense. And then there's more of like industry specific designers, especially like really interested in like how might we improve a certain space. And so maybe I know a couple companies that come to mind for me in like food and health tech, but like, that industry in general is really interesting. But like, as far as consumer products go, like I love Instagram. I think they've just done a really great job at the product. And I think, it would be so interesting to work alongside the rest of the designers who are like focused on that space. Like, I think there's so much creativity in what they're working on. And, I've loved Instagram stories for a long time. And I think they totally killed it when they released that product, which was, similar or was kind of like went off of Snapchat. But I think they totally blew out Snapchat, just created a better product, a better experience. And I'm like, I love that. And I think they're doing a great thing with Reels as well. But obviously TikTok is also still just like so innovative in that space. But like, there's so much creative potential like in those tools. it would be so cool to contribute to that. And then same with YouTube, and in a similar sense, I love the creator community and the creator economy in a sense. So I would love to, I'd love to contribute to those spaces. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's definitely something that I would be thinking about. I am very lucky, I guess, to say that I initially had this like dream role that I wanted to like work in the AR and VR space. I remember I was like, I think I commented on one of your videos that, and then like now I have that as an intern role, which is like wild. And I'm just like ultimately like just super grateful and honestly in disbelief, because I'm just like, I didn't think that someone who had no experience could actually like, you know, become a part of that community. So that is something that I'm very excited but very scared about. But another answer that I actually have that I've had for a while, even as a graphic designer, is just being able to mesh my love of the user experience, but also design systems in films. I love movies. I love everything about the movie-going experience, and, you know, just being able to, you know, look up to some designers, like a specific designer that I love absolutely. Her name's Annie Atkins, and she's created design systems for like Wes Anderson films.
It's
and
so
like
funny it's so funny you bring her up, because I just watched a video of her.
Seriously?
Work. Yeah, she's freaking so cool. Yes.
The coolest
human
being. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
I don't know what, like, if I could make an equation where it's just like product design plus like movies plus like a sprinkle of Annie Atkins magic equals like question mark. Like, I don't know what that is, but just being able to like work in that industry would be so cool, because it's you're like ultimately creating a world for an experience. So I think that's just like a very abstract answer on my part, but that's definitely a dream of mine, to work in the movie industry as well. So that's my answer. I think we can go into our last question. Do you have a hidden talent? Aren't you a basketball player?
I was gonna say, so the thing that my hidden talent is spin a basketball on my finger. So that's kind of cool. I'm like searching for a basketball.
All right. Oh my gosh.
So
I cannot do that. That's a hidden talent of yours. So.
Thank you. Do you have any hidden talents?
This is more of like something that I did in high school, but I was a theater kid. I was like absolute theater kid, loved improv, I did all the plays that I could possibly do, Shakespeare, musical, whatever it is, I'm like so in it. I did some like on-screen acting while I was in San Francisco. So it's definitely like a huge passion of mine as well.
Wait, what do you mean? You were in a TV show or something?
So in my university, like there's different colleges. So there's also a school of acting and a school of motion pictures and television. That's what it's called. And they sometimes hire like professional actors in order to like act in their like thesis films and all of that. So I've been in a few of those. I've been in a music video and stuff like that. So it's just like something that I do like on the DL, but it's like something I absolutely love.
I remember you posted about the music video once.
Yes.
Yeah, so fun. Okay, fun fact. I went to theater camp for a month when I was growing up, and I freaking loved it too. What happened? I probably ended up playing, like choosing basketball, because like basketball is a big commitment when you're growing up, and I played club over the summer and stuff, but I loved it. And YouTube, a lot of it's like performative. Like you're just performing as yourself. So it's like super easy, but there's like a performative aspect to it. Yeah. And anyway, I love that so much. I definitely see it. You're so good at this.
Yeah. Thank you. It's one of those things where once I say it, people are like, oh, I get it. And I'm like, thanks. Like, yeah, I guess. Well, that wraps it up for my set of questions. So that is part 1 of the designer tag that I have with Alexa today. And because this is a tag, I'm going to be tagging a few of my fellow content creators that are also designers. And I'm going to be tagging Miguel Makes, Elise UX, and Korean Creative. So that is Grace. So make sure to check out Alexa's section. That will be linked down below. The second part of the this designer tag. But thank you so much, Alexa, for being a part of this. I'm so happy that we were able to do this finally.
Thank you so much. This was so fun. I can't wait to see the rest of the designer tags that happen after this one.
Yay! Thank you. Bye. See you in my next video.